All right, good afternoon, everyone. I wanted to welcome you to today's webinar, Programs and Tools for Small Business Energy Management, Tax Credits, IRA, and more. I want to say thanks first to our promotional partners who have helped spread the word about our small business program today. Next slide, please. Thank you to Be Local Wisconsin, Community Shares of Wisconsin, Focus on Energy, Godfrey and Kahn, MREA, Renew Wisconsin, Sustain Dane, U.S. Green Building Council, Walnut Way Conservation Corp., Waukesha County Green Team, Wisconsin Eco Latinos, Wisconsin Office of Sustainability and Clean Energy, and the Wisconsin Sustainable Business Council. Next slide, please. We'll begin with some housekeeping. Today's webinar is being recorded and a version of it will be posted to YouTube on the Citizens Utility Board YouTube channel for public viewing after the fact. I also want to acknowledge today's webinar support from Richard Stork of CUB as well as Lisa at Evolution Marketing. Together they will be assisting us today. Please be sure to submit questions through the Q&A feature on the Zoom screen. Q&A is listed under the more button if you can't find it. And if you have technical questions or questions you may not want to share with everyone, please send them directly to Lisa Giesa-Bauer and include your contact information. She'll make sure a CUB staffer or one of our speakers will follow up to answer your question. We have enabled closed captioning to make sure, and so you should be able to find that in the box at the bottom of your screen that has a CC inside of it. Okay, so my name's Tom Content. I'm Executive Director at the Citizens Utility Board, and today I'll be your event MC. I'm here because consumer protection is critical with utility service. The money that you pay to your utility should be affordable for you, your family, and your small business. And it should be spent responsibly by the utility and result in reliable service. CUB represents all of us in Wisconsin and advocates for all of these things. And if you're not a member of CUB today, think this is important, please consider supporting our work and becoming a member. Next slide, please. CUB's role is as Wisconsin's consumer advocate for residential and small business customers in all the cases that where the monopoly utilities are regulated at the Public Service Commission. We are the nation's oldest CUB, the first one in the country, founded in 1979, and we are nonpartisan, nonprofit, independent. And as I mentioned, we advocate for safe and reliable service, but we're also on the front lines as a watchdog for consumer protection, affordability, and fairness. Membership information is at our website, cubwi.org. And we have at CUB, we have two main areas of focus: our regulatory work at the Public Service Commission and education and outreach events like today's webinar. Next slide, please. Consumer advocates come in all shapes and sizes around the country. You can see here on this map that Wisconsin is one of just 3 states that relies on a nonprofit organization, an independent nonprofit to do this work. The orange states, including many of those nearby, have both a nonprofit and a state government agency advocating for the customers of the state. Next slides, please. Specific to small businesses, CUB advocates for fairness, but we actually offer a lot more for in the area of small business memberships. Our small business members receive regular updates on our advocacy and are empowered to take action by speaking out on pending price increases, such as rate hike proposals we have pending right now for customers and businesses in Superior, as well as customers across the state of We Energies and Wisconsin Public Service. Small business members also have opportunities to learn about ways to save energy and participate in our outreach and partnership opportunities. Next slide, please. So today we have put together a wonderful educational program for the small business community in Wisconsin. We have 3 panelists who will unpack hot topics that business owners and operation managers should be aware of in 2024 and heading toward 2025. Our speakers will share plenty of resources and programs and actions that your business can take to use less energy. Our first panelist will be Corinne Hafel, the Director of U.S. Market Transformation and Development at the United States Green Building Council. She'll be followed by attorney Mark Bender from Godfrey and Kahn. And our final speaker will be Maria Redmond. And Maria is the director of the Wisconsin Office of Sustainability and Clean Energy. So just one more reminder to put your questions in the chat or in the Q&A area below. And a reminder, we will be sharing the recording and all the slides and resources after the webinar. Now I'd like to welcome Corinne.
Thank you, Tom. Hi, I'm Corinne Hafel. I'm a director with the Market Transformation and Development team at the U.S. Green Building Council. My role involves bridging the gap between USGBC's tools, resources, and initiatives and the dedicated stakeholders who are working to create a sustainable future through green buildings and communities. With a background in architecture, I'm about to spend the next 10 minutes trying to provide you with a high-level overview of how to reduce your energy burden through best practices. Next slide. If you're not familiar with the U.S. Green Building Council, our mission is to transform how buildings and communities are built, designed, and operated. While our work encompasses many areas, we are very much known for the LEED rating system, which is the foremost program for green buildings and communities across the world. It provides a comprehensive framework for creating healthy, efficient, and cost-effective green buildings across virtually all project types. LEED 5, our latest iteration under development, continues to be a holistic rating system, and it addresses environmental impacts while recognizing the connections and trade-offs between them. For the purposes of today's discussion, I felt it was crucial to highlight that the decarbonization-related credits now account for 50% of all available points, and energy use reduction plays a critical role in achieving those credits. The top 3 drivers for green building today are client demands, environmental regulations, and the pursuit of healthier buildings, with businesses and government entities managing a staggering 93 billion square feet of U.S. real estate, and they consume 18% of the nation's energy, spending $190 billion annually. Since commercial buildings alone account for 35% of the U.S. electricity use and 16% of the carbon dioxide emissions, reducing energy consumption in these buildings presents a powerful opportunity to positively impact the environment, enhance energy security, and save money that can be reinvested in business growth, all while creating skilled jobs. So energy efficient buildings are increasingly appealing to both tenants and employees who value sustainability because they offer lower operating costs and healthier, more comfortable environments that boost satisfaction and retention. Beyond environmental benefits, energy efficiency delivers significant financial savings, with many measures offering quick paybacks due to rising energy costs. Given that commercial buildings waste, on average, 30% of their energy, the potential for improvement is substantial, and enhancing energy efficiency will also reduce carbon footprints, support community health, prepares buildings for future regulatory requirements, ultimately positioning those buildings and operators as leaders in sustainability. To address the concern that green building is too costly and complex, achieving sustainability and financial success starts with thorough analysis and benchmarking. You just start at the basics. Without these, it's challenging to identify any cost-effective solutions or track progress accurately, and neglecting this ongoing analysis can lead to investments in systems that only partially address the initial energy inefficiencies. Many of the most effective energy efficiency measures for small and medium-sized office spaces can be implemented at little to no cost to building owners and tenants. Many relate to improving the building's operations and maintenance processes, such as ensuring your HVAC equipment is clean and running properly, scheduling it to turn down during off hours. Other things are quick fixes based on behavioral changes among occupants and reducing lighting and electricity usage. So there are no excuses. These days, there are many opportunities to do benchmarking and numerous tools and exceptional practitioners who can dive into every detail. However, there are a couple great free offerings that you can start using today that will help you identify if your buildings are underperforming, identify areas for improvement, maximize cost savings, and verify ongoing performance. The first is Energy Star Portfolio Manager. This is a leading benchmarking tool for commercial buildings, allowing users to securely track and compare energy use across any building type. With nearly 25% of U.S. commercial space already using it, Portfolio Manager helps you assess your building's energy performance against national medians and similar buildings with a score of 50 representing median performance. The tool also supports setting investment priorities by comparing cost savings across your portfolio, verifying energy savings over time, sharing performance data as well. Buildings that score 75 or higher can even qualify for an ENERGY Star certification and earn industry recognition. Next, the ARC performance platform developed by the Green Business Certification Corporation and the U.S. Green Building Council is designed to enhance the way buildings and portfolios are managed and optimized. It serves as a comprehensive tool in the building information ecosystem, enabling users to manage, measure, analyze, score, and communicate real-world performance data effectively. ARC's capability extends across various dimensions such as energy, emissions, water, waste, transportation, and human experience, offering critical insights for improvement. The platform is inclusive. It's catering to a wide range of users, from beginners to seasoned professionals, and novices can choose to focus on a single sustainability issue like energy, and then gradually advance to more complex sustainability challenges. Meanwhile, experienced practitioners can benefit from the streamlined processes to manage extensive spaces and portfolios efficiently. Notably, for entities that are managing the global real estate sustainable benchmarking participants, ARC facilitates a direct upload of asset data, aiding in certification pursuits and score enhancement. Basically, this makes ARC a pivotal resource for anyone aiming to elevate their environmental and sustainability efforts. And again, it's free. You can start today. So optimizing your building's performance and energy efficiency is crucial for both cost savings and sustainability. One effective approach is retro-commissioning, which involves improving the performance of your building systems, equipment, and overall operations. This process can then help you save up to 16% annually on energy bills, with project paybacks often occurring in less than a year. If retro-commissioning isn't a good fit, consider building tune-ups as a simplified alternative. This approach still enhances your building's operations and focuses on key systems like heating, cooling, and ventilation. Another important strategy you can utilize is maximizing the use of your building's control system. While many facilities do have sophisticated energy management systems, or EMS, they're often underutilized. By fully leveraging the system, you can implement advanced control strategies such as optimal start-stop, temperature resets, light sweeps, etc., and move beyond basic on-off controls. In addition to these measures, it's essential to redefine your preventative maintenance practices. Regularly review your HVAC and lighting schedules, adjust your EMS settings for efficiency. These things ensure that your building is operated only when needed. So also incorporate after-hours walkthroughs, because they can be revealing to detect any stray equipment operation. And furthermore, adjusting control strategies seasonally and tracking equipment performance over time will help you maintain an optimal energy use through the year. Lighting is another area where significant savings can be achieved. Upgrading inefficient lighting such as incandescent or halogen bulbs to energy efficient alternatives is really a simple yet impactful step towards making your building more efficient. And then overall, adopting best practices in operations and maintenance can greatly reduce operating costs, maintain your comfort, and extend the lifespan of equipment, all without significant capital investment. Additionally, engaging your occupants in fun competitions and things can also help you achieve your goals, while contributing to environmental sustainability. Next, please. You might be wondering, okay, well, how can I afford these improvements and where can I find support? Fortunately, in Wisconsin, there's a wealth of resources available to help you overcome these barriers and achieve your sustainability goals. Here, I'm attempting to highlight a few key organizations that I think are important for you to be aware of. The first, Maria is actually going to cover focus on energy in depth later on, but I really wanted to highlight that it should be a top priority for all of you to become familiar with Focus on Energy. Their programs have numerous financial and design assistance things available for energy-related projects. Slipstream is a remarkable resource based in Madison. They develop and implement cutting-edge energy efficiency and renewable energy programs. Their suite of energy analysis and design tools really help building owners and designers make informed decisions with real data. They're also involved with the Property Assessed Clean Energy program that provides low-cost, long-term financing for energy efficiency, renewable energy, and water conservation upgrades. With no upfront costs, PACE loans can be repaid over 20 plus years. They often yield immediate positive cash flow and increase property value. They're secured by a special charge similar to a property tax, and the loans transfer with property ownership. Eligible properties include multifamily, industrial, nonprofit, agricultural, and hospitality sites. Additionally, we have the Midwest Renewable Association, who manages the Solar on Schools program, offering support and grants for K through 12 schools. They also do a lot of training around um, execution and installation for renewable energy. Renew Wisconsin is a nonprofit advocate for renewable energy across the state, and they help remove barriers to policy and things supporting renewable energies, such as expansion of solar and wind power in the state, local hydropower, building electrification, and more. And then lastly, definitely check with your local utility to see what additional energy efficiency services they may offer. Oftentimes, they provide additional support, such as streamlined data harvesting, consultations, training, and informative newsletters at no additional cost. Additionally, there is the Inflation Reduction Act that provides various incentives, rebates, and grants for renewable energy, EV charging, climate mitigation, and efficiency upgrades. Our USGBC, I'm sorry, next page. Our USGBC advocacy team closely monitors these developments and regularly updates resources to keep you informed. While I am not a tax professional and attorney, we are very fortunate to have Mark Bender with us today, who's going to provide additional details and insights on these opportunities. I'm sorry, next slide, please. Here, I want to point out that there are links that are going to be shared in the chat and afterwards as well to the USGBC resources that dive into this a little bit deeper. But Mark, again, is going to take us through in much more detail. I know that I just hit you with a fire hose of information. Next slide, please. But feel free to reach out if you have any questions or want to know more. Mark?
Thanks. Yeah, and the fire hose will keep on coming. I'll talk about the investment tax credit and how some of the tax credits work, and then go through a couple grant opportunities that Maria will follow up after me as well. So, hi everybody. My name is Mark Bender. I am a member of Godfrey and Kahn's Energy Regulatory and Tribal Nation practice groups here in Madison. And before I came to Godfrey and Kahn, I worked at the Public Service Commission in Wisconsin and in the legislature as well. My practice focuses on energy and clean technology issues, including project development, project finance, which following the IRA's passage in 2021 or 2022, the tax credit financing for clean energy projects is a major component of what we do in helping folks figure out how to utilize the tax credits that are available and the grants that are available to finance their projects, if not fully finance their projects. So if you can go to the next slide. So the main tax credit I'll talk about is the investment tax credit, which I think is what most folks think of when they're looking at clean technology projects. There is also production tax credits as well, but really we'll focus on the investment tax credit now. That credit was really an expansion of the solar ITC that was scheduled to phase out. The IRA extended this and expanded the ITC to not just solar, but a variety of other technologies. As you can see here on the slide, geothermal, CHP, biogas, standalone storage is included as well. And what this credit does at its base level is provide a 30% tax credit on the cost of your project, provided that the project is either under 1 megawatt AC, or it meets certain prevailing wage and apprenticeship requirements. If you meet one of those two criteria, your kind of base level is automatically 30% of your project. Now, the current ITC that expands out some of the technologies is good through 2024, and then starting next year, this kind of transitions to a new clean electricity investment tax credit where, unlike the current ITC, new projects will have to be energy generating technology and have zero greenhouse gas emissions, where that may not be the case for investments or projects that you may be looking at now. But for the most part, if you're thinking about solar and storage projects, those will fit under either tax credit going into the future as well. Next slide. A big advantage to this expanded ITC is also the availability of bonus credits. These are add-on credits to that base level 30%. These fall into a number of categories. The first is a 10% adder if you meet certain domestic content requirements. And this is set at, is all the steel in your solar project US made? Is all the iron US made? Or all the products, the panels, do they meet US made criteria. If so, that's another 10%. So now you're up to 40% cost of your project as a tax credit. Another is a 10% increase if your project is located in what's called an energy community. And these can fit into one of three criteria. Either it's a brownfield, it's located in a census tract or nearby adjacent census tract to either a closed coal mine or a closed coal-fired power plant. And there are also areas that meet certain employment statistics, that areas that may have traditionally relied on fossil fuel infrastructure, fossil fuel energy generation, that have certain unemployment levels. Those are also energy communities. So if a project is placed in one of those census tracts, you get another 10% potentially. And the DOE does have maps that help show where some of these census tracts are other than the brownfields. So you can go to the DOE's website and figure out, put in the address of the project and see if you're eligible for that energy community bonus credit. The third is slightly different, but it still is an add-on bonus. This is the low income communities bonus credit, and this is aimed at driving clean energy projects in areas that have traditionally been disadvantaged economically. This is not an automatic tax credit, like the domestic content and the energy community. If you meet the requirements, you get the credit. This one you have to apply for and meet certain requirements, and then the IRS and DOE select who's going to get the tax credit. But these can be 10 to 20% depending on the project's location, including being in a low-income community or in Indian lands or part of certain residential or economic projects. So it's another good tax credit to look into. And if you get all three of these, you're looking at perhaps a 70% tax credit on your project. Next slide. Another important piece that the IRA changed on tax credit financing a project is this idea of elective pay, or sometimes called direct pay. And this is allowing entities that had not historically been eligible for tax credits. They're nonprofits, they're tribes, they're state or municipal governments. They can now take advantage of this elective pay and get the tax credit back as cash, just like they were a regular tax-paying entity. To do this, you have to file kind of a special tax return, as well as pre-register with the IRS to let them know kind of what projects are coming. And then you get a registration number that you use to track that through the tax return process. This is available for a number of tax credits. I think for folks on this call, most importantly is going to be the investment tax credit for solar, for wind, for storage, for the 45W, which is commercial clean vehicles, so commercial EVs, and then the 30C, which is essentially charging infrastructure, the alternative fuel refueling infrastructure tax credit. This is going to be charging stations, hydrogen fueling stations. It's also available for that tax credit as well. Next slide. So in addition to the tax credit side of financing the projects, there's also grants available under the IRA, because what's better than free money from the federal government to finance your project? Next slide. So I'll just go through three pretty big programs to keep an eye on. There's lots of other grant programs. I'm not going to go through them all, but just know that there's lots of grant money available through the federal government and often through state governments as well. So the first is the Environmental and Climate Justice Community Change Grant. So this is a little under $3 billion aimed at pollution reduction and clean energy projects in disadvantaged communities. And this requires a partnership between CBOs, community-based organizations, which you can really think of as nonprofits, and partnerships with tribes, local governments, or institutions of higher education. And these are aimed at, again, placing projects in disadvantaged communities and seeing the benefits of these pollution and climate justice projects. This is a rolling application window right now that closes in November. So if you think you may have a project that fits this, I would encourage you to take a look quickly and get your materials together, as that grant will close in a couple of months. Next slide. The next is the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, and I know Maria will touch on this a little bit more, but this is what most people think of, I think, as green banks and kind of low interest financing, some grants, but other kind of financial products that help projects get off the ground, as you need that upfront cost for projects, not just the tax credits on the back end. So the big three are the Solar for All program, which is focused on residential and community solar level solar installations. And Wisconsin alone has about little under $63 million available for that program. And the next two, the National Clean Investment Fund and the Clean Communities Investment Accelerator, are also more green bank financing for projects, and they've got a little bit different criteria on who can qualify, but those are things to keep an eye on as you're looking for potential funding for clean energy projects. And next slide. Oh, back one. And the last is, as you're thinking about new projects, is electric vehicle and electric vehicle charging infrastructure. Most folks may have seen Wisconsin got about 83 million through the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program, the NEVI program. But there's also a discretionary grant program through the US DOT that also is available for smaller entities, not just states, nonprofits, for-profits, to install charging infrastructure in certain areas of the country. That has, again, 2.5 billion available. I think this year they do about one round every year. This year is about 800 million available. The current round application deadline's next week, but know that there will be, or they plan at least, future funding rounds in future years. So that's another great way to finance some charging infrastructure if that's what we're looking at. So now to talk a little bit more about the resources that the state of Wisconsin has for energy and energy efficiency, we'll go to Maria Redmond.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure to be here. You want to jump to the next, actually go 2 slides. Yep, thanks. So I'm here today to talk a little bit more about the different programs and offerings provided by the state agencies and give you a little bit of background on that, but just a reminder that this is a snapshot of what's available. Again, what was mentioned in the previous presentations is really that there's a lot going on. There are a lot of resources, and really we're here to help. So one of the things, if you haven't heard about the Office of Sustainability and Clean Energy, this office was created in 2019 by Governor Evers and via Executive Order 38 to lead the state's transition to 100% carbon-free electricity consumed by 2050 and fulfill the carbon reduction goals of the 2015 Paris Climate Accord. Wisconsin is not going to do all of that. We're globally working on Wisconsin's portion of that and how we reduce emissions. We're also central to energy programs and policies in the state. Unlike some other states, we don't have a centralized Department of Energy or Department of Climate. We know, though, that a lot of the agencies and our stakeholders are working on this. So we're really central to all of this work to make sure that we're working and coordinated together on all of this. We also do a lot of climate and clean energy outreach. That's why I'm here today, to share some of this information and to be a resource to you. We also lead on grant programs, including the EPA's Climate Pollution Reduction Grant Program. Next slide. So one of the things that guides us along is our clean energy plan. We were one of 8 states in the nation to not have a clean energy plan, and in April of 2022, we published our first clean energy plan in history. So we're super excited about that. And really the idea with that was to address multi-sector deep decarbonization and a transition to a robust clean energy economy. And through that, we came up with 4 pathways to accelerate clean energy technology deployment, maximize energy efficiency, modernize buildings and industry, and innovate in transportation. And with all of that, we want to centralize the work of equity, health equity, environmental justice, and equitable economic development, and also think about workforce development and a just transition. So we know that as of 2023, that small businesses in Wisconsin account for over 97% of all the businesses in the state. So this is a really critical, we know that small businesses are a really critical component of Wisconsin's economy, and that there are challenges for small businesses. I'm not going to go through all the challenges, but one of the things we did consider as we were developing the Clean Energy Plan is how do we address those challenges for multiple sectors, multiple sizes of companies. And the Clean Energy Plan strategies really aim to address challenges by understanding and supporting workforce needs, supporting clean energy and small business, funding and incubators, expanding incentive programs like Focus on Energy, which I'll talk about in a minute, creating green grant and loan programs, and supporting independent energy audits for businesses. So we want to make sure that we're supporting your work. So I'm going to just jump into some programs that I wanted to highlight. So the first program, next slide, is Focus on Energy. You've heard a little bit about that in the other presentations. Focus on Energy really empowers the people and businesses of Wisconsin to make smart energy decisions and enduring economic benefits. And so this program has been around since 2001 and really focused on energy efficiency and renewable resources. And they work on behalf of 107 Wisconsin electric and natural gas utilities. So it's important for you to know who those are. Corinne mentioned that in her presentation is going to your utility to see if they're participating in Focus on Energy, we want everybody in the state to know about Focus on Energy. And from a business perspective, I've listed on this slide some of the incentives that are offered. New construction, equipment replacement. Also, you can go on the Focus on Energy site and you can put in details about your business, and it will kind of spit out some next steps that you can take, and different incentives that you might be eligible for. So you can really explore the different solutions, either by sector or by business type. So they have a couple of different avenues for you to explore. So I provided links to both of those, the business side and the solution side for you in this slide. Next slide. Also, our state agencies are very active in supporting clean energy and sustainability goals. So the Office of Energy Innovation is our state energy office. There's a state energy office in 56 of the states and territories in the US. So no matter where you do your work, there is a state energy office, and I would recommend, if you do work in other states as well, is to check the other state energy offices to see, what different programs they have. They are funneling a lot of federal funding through state energy offices right now. So it's really important to check in with them. Our state energy office, the Office of Energy Innovation, provides technical assistance for planning, like providing resources for planning and implementation of projects. There's also the Energy Innovation Grant Program, which is targeted to what we call MUSH sector. It's the municipal, I said I was going to have this down pat, but municipals, universities, schools, and hospitals. So it's the MUSH market, and also manufacturing. So we know that there are a lot of manufacturing, small manufacturing up to very large manufacturing, and those are eligible entities as well. And then they also have the Wisconsin Refueling Readiness Program as an energy security program. In case there's an outage of some sort, they're providing funding to refueling facilities and highway departments to be able to get the necessary infrastructure at that location to be able to provide fuel to first responders or any emergency type vehicles or utilities, for example, to be able to get the energy back up and running or address any sort of emergency that's happening. Next slide. So the next is the Green Bank. So in I think it was last year, the governor created an executive order 195 related to the creation of the Governor's Green Ribbon Commission on Clean Energy and Environmental Innovation. And really what that idea there is to get a group of people together to stand up a green bank for the state of Wisconsin. This was a strategy that was written into the Clean Energy Plan as well, to really think about how we can leverage public and private financing to invest in projects related to environmental and clean energy solutions for businesses. So one of the things to think about is that with the tax incentives, it's very exciting that there's all these tax incentives, but one of the challenges that you might have is the upfront cost. And so what we're looking at is the Green Bank potentially providing some of that upfront funding so that you can get that project moving forward, and also be able to take advantage of the tax incentives that are available federally. And one of the nice things is that you can stack. There's different terms that people use, like braiding, stacking. But ideally, what you do is you can take advantage of different grant programs, take advantage of the federal tax incentives, potentially the green bank that we're standing up here in Wisconsin, and utilize that funding to really fund a project. You could potentially, if you get the math right, could fund a project 100%. I mean, you can't make money. The IRS has said you cannot make money off of a project by all these incentives, but you certainly can stack the incentives so that you can fund a full project. So that takes some effort and some math, and we're all here to figure out how to get that done. But first, the state is really trying to get that green bank set up and looking at the different federal funding opportunities that are out there. The Federal Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, we've received Solar for All funding at just over $62 million. The State Energy Program, Clean Energy Loan Capitalization, it will be that's about 1.8 million. And then also looking at the private and philanthropic funding that can be associated and rolled into that. We're hoping that we get a lot of work is being done on the logistics of the Green Bank right now. We are working on getting kind of how you would be able to apply for funding, getting the funding rolled into the different avenues and different loan programs and different things like that. So we're hoping that the Green Bank will be stood up at least by the end of 2024, early 2025 is what we're hoping for. So, we're on this push to get it stood up as quickly as possible. Certainly we can keep you posted. The link that I've included in here goes directly to the Green Innovation Fund, and you can sign up for updates. Also, the Wisconsin Economic Development Corps is also still collecting different projects and proposals, because they want to be able to speak to the National Clean Investment Fund awardees to tell them what Wisconsin has to offer and get some of that funding shifted to Wisconsin. And then I just put in here that WDC also provides a lot of other business support as well. There's an Office of Rural Prosperity and a number of other sections within WDC. So I just recommend going to their website and checking them out, or if you need a direct contact for the Green Innovation Fund, I'm happy to provide that for you. And then lastly, next slide, I just want to mention that you might not see yourself in some of these grant programs, or like depending on what your work is related to or your business is related to. But one thing to think about is all the workforce opportunities that are going to come out from these different funding streams. So Solar for All, for example, is really focused on deploying solar in disadvantaged communities and low income communities. And so that's 62, just over 62 million. A portion of that will be distributed to actually deploy solar. So we're going to need people to be able to do that, and train people to get trained up to be able to support the deployment of that. Also, Wisconsin just recently announced that we are the first state in the nation to deliver the homes rebates that are supported by the Inflation Reduction Act. These are home efficiency rebates. Focus on Energy will be deploying those, but at the same time, we're going to need workforce to be able to deploy the technology and help weatherize homes, help with the efficiency measures that could be potentially a part of homes and businesses. And what I want to emphasize is that as a business, you could play a role in deploying those efficiency measures at homes. And then the electric vehicle infrastructure program, which was mentioned before as well, as we're just starting to deploy the funding, we have $78 million coming to the state to deploy electric vehicle infrastructure around the state. Well, we're going to need the workforce to be able to install that infrastructure and maintain and operate that infrastructure. So there's a lot of opportunity there, and I didn't want to overlook that. And then my last slide, you might be leaving here, next slide, with a lot of questions. I have an idea. I'm interested in a specific technology. You're saying, like, I don't know where to start. I have a business I'm interested in this, but I have other priorities. I'm a small business. I have to focus on my business. I'm scared to act. My name, my competition might criticize me, or what's this going to cost? How do I fund this? There are a lot of questions that arise, and we're here for you. We have a panel of experts sitting here. We're at the Office of Sustainability and Clean Energy. We have direct contact with the federal government and some of the folks that are providing this funding, and we can provide input to them on how to make it easier to deploy this funding. There's also lots of entities out there providing technical assistance as well. So just wanted to put that out there that we're ready to help. And with that, I will end my portion of the presentation and pass it back over to Tom.
Super. Thanks, Maria. We appreciate all the insights from all three panelists, and that is terrific information. Maria, you already answered the initial question about the Green Bank and maybe the timing on that. And I might just stick with you for a second and just ask if the other program you talked about that's kind of at a state government level is the Solar for All. And if there's just any more, I know it's not being run at your office, but if there's any more details you could share on what's to come and kind of the timeline for there.
Yeah, definitely. So the Solar for All program is primarily run out of the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation. I think that was mentioned before. And they're currently working on getting the contract in place and the negotiations done with the Environmental Protection Agency, which is the source of that funding. So the idea is to try to get, all of the logistics laid out. I know they're doing a lot of outreach right now. So if you have some thoughts on that program, I do believe we included a link for Solar for All. There's contact there. I think the idea is to try to get through the negotiation process with the federal government first and get everything in place, and then to start rolling out the logistics of the project. So I don't anticipate that they'll get funding out this year. I imagine it'll probably be early next year as well, to get everything rolling out and get everything situated for that program.
Super. Thank you. And
Yeah.
anybody who has questions, please just drop them in the chat or in the Q&A below. My main question is, okay, this is a lot of information. We've got a lot of resources we're going to share after the share that people can go back and look at. But if I'm a small business owner, I've got other things that I've got to deal with today and tonight and tomorrow. So where should I start? And I'll start with you, Maria, and then we'll go around the horn.
Okay. Well, certainly the folks sitting here we're here for you. I think one thing I would mention is that we at the State of Wisconsin Office of Sustainability and Clean Energy, we like to have one-on-one conversations. We strive to meet with folks individually and businesses individually to understand where they're coming from and what they're interested, their different projects, and then get them connected with the right people to be able to have the conversations to either, maybe you're just starting and you need technical assistance, or, maybe you have a project and you've got a budget, and so that you're at a different level. So, one thing is definitely coming to the Office of Sustainability and Clean Energy, and also using the tools online as well. Like Focus on Energy, I mentioned, has a great tool for you to jump on there and kind of figure out kind of where you're at, and they'll connect you with trade allies that can help you work through some of the details of your projects and bring them to fruition. So those
Super.
are a couple of suggestions.
Thank you. How about you, Mark? Where do you think somebody should get started?
Yeah, I think planning out the project and figure out what you need to move it forward. If you're thinking about, energy efficiency projects or maybe some renewable energy projects on a building you own, or how you get involved in renewable energy projects, thinking about the team that you have in place and what expertise you still need. Is it an engineer? Is it an accountant? Is it a lawyer to help figure out some of these tax credits? Is it worth might be worth paying up front for some of that professional help if it means getting a 30, 40, 50, 60% tax credit on a project that's going to save you a lot more money, over the next 20 or 30 years in energy costs. So I think taking some time to plan things out a little bit reduces effort on the back end because you kind of know what needs to come next.
Super. Yeah, that life cycle cost accounting, there's a big upfront expense, but then there's a big initial savings, but then there's the savings that come over time. That is really a kind of a game changer on some of these things. Corinne, what do you think on helping people get started?
Yeah, very similarly to how Maria described, we pride ourselves on meeting people where they're at, and helping them find a safe space to have that conversation and be sometimes a little vulnerable about what you don't know. What I would emphasize with all of this is that I completely agree and appreciate that we're all really busy. We're all really busy and strapped for our attention and whatnot. And there is an unfortunate history of built environment spaces being sort of a forgotten asset that is often neglected, right? You're already dealing with it by not dealing. You're already paying the premiums on the energy costs that are happening. That wasted energy is occurring. You likely have somebody on staff, if it's not yourself, if you're a really small entity, or other operators that are doing their best to keep that tool running efficiently. And the reality is, the second your building opens, it starts to degrade. And it's something that you need to keep up with, because those costs will only increase, the effort will only get worse the further you get down the line. So it's important to make that time to monitor the energy, to monitor those systems, and make this a priority with small little check-ins here and there, so that you're not faced with a catastrophic failure later on, or having to respond to a supply chain RFP in which they wish for you to explain what your carbon footprint is, and you have no idea what's going on. And suddenly you find yourself with a business solution and problem that you can't respond to. So, we are here to assist you, and there are some amazing tools and resources, Maria, and the state level, the local government entities. There's a lot of our local governments that have landing pages that you can start in, that will point you off to. Every single one of them is going to point you to Focus on Energy. Every one of them is going to point you to Energy Star Portfolio Manager. All of them have amazing tools and resources to get started with.
Super. Well, thanks, Corinne. And sticking with you, Corinne, just on the idea, can you just talk about benchmarking? Because if somebody's just figuring out how to operate their own building and trying to operate their own building better, that's one thing. But in order to move forward, you kind of have to measure where you're at, right? And do that benchmarking. And so Energy Star, has that really been a popular choice for people to use that tool?
Very much so. And in fact, our platform talks directly with Energy Star. So if you're already using Energy Star, you just put the portfolio manager project ID in, and it will completely and totally automatically populate that into ARC and apply the algorithms so that you can do all that other data analysis that I told you about. But Energy Star is a remarkably simple tool that all you need is your utility bills, and entering in the energy usage that you have into the very simple platform. So they're going to ask you things like, what's your building size, what's your occupancy size, what's your occupancy type. Sometimes those questions are easier to answer for certain individuals, but again, there's plenty of resources out there to help you with this, from us to others in Focus on Energy. Energy Star has fantastic tutorials on their website. They have fantastic toolkits and PDFs and things that can walk you through what to do. I think sometimes, and I believe Lisa shared the link to Energy Star in the chat, but sometimes when you click on something like that and it has 5,000 links and tools and whatever, it can feel really abrupt and overwhelming when you get to that website. But just remember, it's okay to take it slow and one step at a time. And they have a getting started link. So just, and setting up a user profile, a project profile there is very simple. You just set up a user, you start inputting data as you're able, and if you hit roadblocks, there are resources. I do also want to point out that both the city of Madison and the city of Milwaukee both have benchmarking ordinances. Madison's is a building performance standard ordinance. They have extra tools and resources, in some cases services, in order to support the buildings that are applicable underneath those ordinances to help you along as well. So the biggest obstacle is not necessarily finding help. It's just taking a breath and finding a trusted resource that you are comfortable with.
Yeah, no, it sounds like those are some great links. And so between the one-on-one support offer that Maria's office is offering, and then kind of the links you're suggesting, as we've got some great opportunities to get started, and Mark's suggestions as well. So Mark, I'll just circle back to you. I was just curious on all this. The tax legislation. Congress is known to every few years update the tax laws, and sometimes election results can lead to different priorities being in focus. But so there's a lot of money available right now and in the coming years. How should a business owner proceed as she's evaluating opportunities that are out there right now with the IRA and other sources?
Yeah, I think that there's, the IRA was passed with only, one party support. So there is the possibility that if the other party gets in power, that they would undo everything. That's a possibility. I think most folks in the industry feel that's unlikely. I think there's, things are too far down the road. A lot of the grant money is actually out the door. I talked about 3 grants, but there's a whole host of grants that are actually, out and expired by now because the money's already out the door. A lot of these tax credits, I think a lot of projects, a lot of big companies are planning and relying on these tax credits, and some serious concerns would be raised if all of a sudden kind of the rug is pulled out from under folks on these tax credits. So I think planning for the tax credits to be around still makes sense. We'll know more in a couple months. If I knew what was going to happen, I would, be on every talk show from now until November. But until then, I still think planning as if they're going to be around still makes sense. You can always adjust from there, but I think undoing at this point, especially these major like ITC credits for solar and storage projects, aren't likely to go away.
Right. And in the past, there's been support for renewing those tax credits whenever they've been about to expire in the past. There's been universal support to keep them going. So super appreciate all those answers. Remember that we're going to have a lot of resources for you after the webinar, but a couple of things I wanted to highlight. I wanted to first thank all of our speakers and the promotional partners who helped make today possible, and thanks to you for joining us. We do have a few more resources that we wanted to share, and this is in particular for those of you who might have home-based businesses. And so first, there's in the center, you've heard us talk about Focus, but from a residential perspective, Focus offers free products through their energy packs that they send out to every customer. Actually, every customer of a utility that's part of Focus can get one of these free packs every year. So I know I like free stuff, and I want to make sure and highlight the availability of this for you. And on the left, you can see the time reference to nights and weekends or time of use rates. All utilities have it. Some of them just call it time of use rates. Some of them, like here, you see Alliant calls it nights and weekends. But Alliant has actually gone. If you happen to be an Alliant Energy customer, which is also known as Wisconsin Power and Light, there's actually an online tool available to you through your account, where if you click on this as a residential or a small business customer, if you click on your account and go to nights and weekends, you can actually see what your estimated bill would be on a different rate, whether the nights and weekend rates, which gives you discounts of much cheaper power in the evenings on the weekends. And with Alliant, you can actually, with 1 or 2 clicks, you can actually switch to that more affordable rate. this afternoon as soon as you get off this webinar. So please think about that and check with your own utility if you're not an Alliant customer about their time of use rates. Budget billing is something that can smooth out the roller coaster of bills when we have really cold weather and or high spiking natural gas prices. People see crazy numbers sometimes in the winter. We're hopeful we won't have that this winter, but just in case, budget billing helps you smooth that out. And the final thing for home-based businesses that I wanted to highlight is, again, Focus, as Maria mentioned, has that new homes program, which is one of the very first in the entire country to roll out. And so to get started on that, it's really important to get an energy audit done of your house. And so information is available on that at the home energy rebates page of focusonenergy.com. We're going to share that link as well. So
Can I
anyway,
also mention, Tom,
yes,
that there's a tax incentive for the home energy audit as well. So
that's right. There's a
yeah,
residential tax credit for that.
Yep.
So thanks for bringing that up. I appreciate that. So I just wanted to wrap up by saying that, part of our mission at CUB is to help educate homeowners and renters and small businesses, the utility customers across the state. And this is just one of several webinars we've been having every year. You can see a link to past webinars, which are all on our YouTube channel. And then we are going to have upcoming webinars. I want to invite you to join. We're doing a residential webinar on September 18th that is going to focus, especially at a time of rising costs with price increases looming, focus on ways to save. And we're going to have a speaker from Focus on Energy who's going to highlight that home energy rebate program as well as other ways to save. And that's going to be a really information-packed hour as well. And then I want another thing coming up is that you should know about is save the date if you want to find out more about CUB's history and our successes. We've been around for 45 years as of this fall, so we're going to have a party. So we're going to have an anniversary celebration in Milwaukee at Radio Milwaukee on December 3rd. So please, you can see the sign up link there on the screen. So I want to just, and then after that, we've got one more educational opportunity for you. So I mentioned those rate cases that are going on right now, and those will all be decided in November, December timeframe. And then once we've kind of digested everything, and we'll come back in January and we will present kind of the recap of the big cases. As I mentioned, We Energies, Wisconsin Public Service, as well as a smaller case involving the Superior Water, Power, and Light. But some big cases that are at this point are presenting some potentially big increases for customers for 2025 and 2026. We hope our advocacy can reduce the size of those increases and pare them back, but we'll be reporting to you on that on January 29th at this year in review. All right, well, thanks again to our panel. Thanks again for joining us, and thanks for sharing the past hour with us. Have a great afternoon.